So, before we start this video, I have to call myself out. I had put the video out the other day about, a little bit of knife science after a day out with the family. And I called out Nick Shabazz, and I said that he had said something, and I know he didn't say it. I don't know why I called him out. I said that Nick complained about the pivot being too small and it was a weak point. Someone else said that, and I don't remember who it was. I would have to go through back a bunch of videos talking about that, complaining about the size of the pivot that Chris and Elliot used at Fair and Forge. Nick's contention was that the pivot is a free spinning pivot, and if you don't know how to, it can be difficult to get it tight or get it loose, and they do use Loctite on it. And I apologize to Nick. I got him grouped somehow backwards, but I did address the issue that Nick was talking about. All you have to do is push that over, put a little tension on that pivot, and then you can heat it up and take that off. It doesn't take a lot. And then you can put it back in, and then you can adjust your pivot tightness however you want. But there that is. I'm sorry if any of you guys that, it was pointed out to me by a viewer before I got the comment from Nick himself. He was pretty cool about it though. He seems like an alright guy. So, that being said, there's my apology, calling myself out on being stupid. I mean, we already know. I called myself out before because I could be a dummy. Hey there, YouTube. We're in my living room again for 3 very good reasons. 1, I don't like being at my workbench and seeing it empty, knowing that I can't do anything. 2, it's cold outside. It is kind of chilly outside today. It's been cloudy and misting and things like that. 3, I'm already wearing my pajamas. I don't feel like changing, and my neighbors don't need to see me in my pajamas. Because it's late enough in the evening, I'm done for the day with everything, so those are the reasons that we haven't done a video out in the yard. I would love to do more videos out at my workbench, but I don't like seeing it empty and know that I can't do anything for at least another week. So, what we're going to talk about is my Sebenza, or just Sebenzas in general, because I've been carrying mine a lot lately. I go through phases where I will carry this, and then I'll carry my Archbishop from Fair and Forge, and there's a lot of times that I carry this and my Archbishop and my DOC. There's times where I'll have 4 or 5 knives on me, 2 knives in each pocket, one in my waistband, my little neck knife that I made. But what I wanted to talk about is the lasting quality that you get when you buy a Sebenza. So I've had this one for a year. It's been carried a lot. It's been re-anodized a couple times. The stone wash that they put on it for some reason seems to hold up and not show scratches too much. It is a knife that a lot of people have said are outdated because it doesn't have a steel bar, a lock bar insert, and things like that. But I'd have to say that of all the knives that I've ever had that are titanium on steel, my Sebenzas I've never had one develop lock stick. I've never had one come in that I've sharpened that had lock stick. I've taken apart. I've seen very little deformation of the interface, and they just lock up. Now, everybody talks about Sebenza smooth. Yeah, there's a lot of knives out there that have smoother pivots and things like that. Maybe just specifically because they run on bearings and flippers, and you've got the Grimsmo knife, which I've said is my gold standard on smoothness of the knife, because it drops to the point so smoothly that it can be dangerous. But a Sebenza can be, this one drops when you release the lock bar tension. This one drops. I've worked this one through, and I cleaned up an issue with the bushings. Never have I had an issue with a Sebenza. This one came with a minor misgrind. I heard someone else on YouTube say that they had one that had a little bit of a misgrind. For me, to resharpen it, not a big deal. I was just kind of surprised. I do know that Chris Reeves is no longer at Chris Reeves Knives, per se. He does their he does their design stuff now, but apparently his ex-wife is running the show there, and they say he's in some semi-retirement. I've heard stories that he lost it in the divorce. I heard that it was because she caught him sleeping with somebody that was working there. That's all conjecture. But I do know that they say he's still involved. He's their main designer. They have got some other knives that they're making. He's not on the line checking the quality. And I hate to say it, but I think it shows. There's some things that slip through. This one had an issue with bushing. So what it was, or not the bushing, but the washer. So it was the washer was not 100% flat. And I had complained, and you guys heard me talk about it, that you'd go like this and there'd be a little bit of slack, tick, 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 where you could actually, it's gone now. It's got that smooth, all the way around hydraulic smooth feel that you would expect from a Chris Reeves Sebenza. Amazing quality. Even with small errors now coming off the line that Chris would probably have caught if he was still doing the QA on the majority of knives as they come off the line. And granted, he didn't get to see every one of them. Still well above, marks and marks above a lot of other knives. So people ask me, like, dude, that's an awful plain knife to be paying $400+ for. Well, here's the thing. When you think about what you're actually getting in a Chris Reeves Sebenza, you're getting a knife that's built to a standard. Even if the standards may have dropped a little bit, a knife that's being built to a standard that is well above any other industry that I can think of. I mean, the man made knives that were above tolerances above the aerospace industry. They still do. They still meet those tolerances. And even if Chris Reeves had been on the line, there's a chance that the small issues with this knife would have made it through, because he'd never inspected every knife. But and something that is designed for the user. And that's what you get. A lot of people, and I've said it too, I've complained about the S35VN in the Sebenza. But when you go back and you have to reset your head, because I've gotten so used to dealing with like Chris and Elliott's 20CV on Ferrum Forge knives, and some of the other knives that come in that are S110V and S90V and 3V steels. Those steels are insane, and they hold an edge forever. But then they come to me and I sharpen them, and then I go and I sharpen this again. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That's what he was thinking. A lot of those knives that are made out of that insanely hard, insanely abrasive resistant steels, you can't do anything with it yourself. You can't. I have a hard time with some of them, and I have the tools for it. I do it professionally. So you have to take a step back and remind yourself of why Chris Reeves did what he did. The Sebenza was designed as a work knife that the average Joe could use, that was something that wasn't going to rust as easily. It was not going to be so hard to sharpen that, you know, he'd get it dull out in the field and then couldn't do anything with it. With a Sebenza, the old ones were between 58 and 59. This one's between 59 and 62, 61, 59 and 61-ish on the Rockwell. They're running them a little bit harder now. But still, that's soft enough that you hear me say it when I talk about LMAX. It's the same thing, and I forget. The knife was made for the user in mind. So you could take an Arkansas stone out in the field with you, touch that edge back up and go right back to work, and not have something that is so incredibly hard that it would take you 30 minutes to resharpen it when you needed it sharp. You just take that little Arkansas stone, you touch that edge up, strap it on a piece of cardboard, and go right back to work. That's what it was meant for. And that's I said it in the other video, elegant simplicity. Everything about this knife, Chris Reeves thought about when he designed it. The steel, the hardness of the steel, the maintainability. So simple to take apart and put back together. Take a knife with IKBS apart one time. Do it one time and tell me how it worked out for you. Don't look up anything on video. Just take that knife apart. And then you'll get into finding out about how some knives can be so difficult to maintain. Chris and Elliott's knives. Their knives are a little bit more difficult. And now I do have to call out, now that I mentioned it, I do have to apologize. Actually, you know what? I'm going to edit. It'll be at the beginning of the video. So you've already seen my apology to Nick Shabazz. But at any rate, they thought out the way they put their knives together, but they're not as easy to take apart and maintain. This knife uses one Allen wrench for the entire knife. You take it apart, you clean it up, you re-grease it, you put it back together. It's pretty simple. And they've got a deal that if you screw it up and you can't get it back together, throw it back in the box and they'll put it back together for you. Send your knife back once every year or so, as long as you've got the warranty card with it. You can send it back, get the spa treatment. Now, I do the spa treatment on my own. I even went as far as I took it apart, cleaned it up, masked off the face of the lock bar so I didn't screw up the carbonizing. Ooh, excuse me. And re-bead blasted it, and then anodized it. Because the way that they do their lock bar is by far better than any of the other titanium on steel knives I've ever seen. You want to see a company that basically ran themselves out of business because of the way they were doing business. Get a Strider that came straight out of the box, and they'll have lock stick. As a matter of fact, I know a guy that owns a business. I went up to see him, and he wasn't there. The ladies at the business where he sells knives out of, he had to go up to Escondido to take up a Strider that when they locked it out, they couldn't release the lock again. That's how it left the factory. Not going to get that with this knife. So, yeah, just to go back to, I had to reset my head because I was talking about how much better I thought Wee's S35VN was than Chris Reeves. And then I had to go back and think to myself and go back and remember why he did what he did. He did it for a reason. It was done for a specific purpose. So, yeah, nope. When you're talking about a Chris Reeves Sebenza, what you're talking about is the full package. So this one, like I said, I've had this one for just about a year. My other one, I had it for several years before I sold it, realized how much I missed it, and got another one. It still spends a lot of time in my pocket or in my waistband. It rides really well in the waistband. The problem with a waistband is you get all that. It really screws it up carrying it in a waistband sometimes. But I know a guy that can re-anodize it. Oh wait, that's me. So, no. The bushings on these are different than the one I had before, and I think that aids. This one has got more of that hydraulically smooth feel that I really love, that I didn't have in the other one, even as broke in as it was. This one has the perforated washers that my other one didn't. My other one was pretty straightforward. They weren't as perforated. This one is the new designed washers. They've got a different hole pattern in them, larger holes on the large one, and then the small one has got little rectangular holes in it. Really neat design. And it goes together every time without fail. As long as you can get those washers in there without pinching them, you're going to have a dead center knife. You don't even have to just crank the whole thing down tight. Any one of these screws can go any one of these holes. If you happen to get the screw that was in your pivot, put here and put that one here, it does not matter. They're all the same. So yeah. Elegant simplicity. Sometimes you have to look at something at its basic beginnings to understand how gorgeous it can be. There's no frills. There's no frills. There's no anything. The only frill on this was this bead that I had a kid make for me, and then I anodized it because I like blue. This is a no frills, honest to God work knife. And when you can remember that, then you can realize how amazing a knife it truly is. So with that being said, guys, I just wanted to throw that out there. There's a lot of people that just don't get it, and sometimes they knock Chris Reeves Sebenzas, like, oh, it's not that special. But when you look at all the parts put together, that's when you realize how special it really is. Even down to the thought that was put in to that perfect pocket clip. So all right, guys, I'm out of here. I will talk to you guys later. Nick, once again, I'm sorry. I spoke out of turn. You guys take it easy, and I'll see you next time.